Hello, my name is Tracy Orsak, and I am a Campus Content Instructional Specialist at Libi Middle School for the Science Department in Cypress Fairbanks ISD. I am making this video for Dr. Brian Holt's EDLD 6299 Fall Practicum, and this video will fulfill my video requirement. I am creating a video for Domain 2, Leading Learning, and Competency 4, where the principal ensures quality instruction by visiting classrooms and planning and providing feedback to improve instruction. So basically, in leading learning, principals and appraisers are responsible for providing and ensuring meaningful learning experiences for students and improving instruction of their teaching staff. So in this video, I will break it apart into different sections. Of course, the video introduction right now, and then I will be videotaping a teacher. Her name is Melissa Bustos. She's a 6th grade science teacher at my middle school, and we're going to simulate the T-test or CF test process. In my school district, we use what's called CF test, which is a modified version of the T-test process. It's very similar, but there are some differences in some of the wording of the rubric. So I will sit down with Melissa and we're going to simulate a pre-observation conference. I will videotape her teaching class for about 10 minutes, and then I will come back and with the post-observation conference, and then a video piece closing the video. I was trained this summer in CF tests, and I've always taken the appraisal process seriously. I've been in the classroom for a long time, and I've been under a couple of different appraisal processes, and I always just kind of did my thing. I valued high quality instruction. I was a hardworking teacher when I was in the classroom, a hardworking instructional specialist now, and so appraisers will come in, watch me teach, never sweated it. I'd have my post conference meeting, I would sign off and everything would be fine. And it wasn't until I was on the other side of it, when I got trained, that I realized just how very important and serious that I need to take this process. And I never doubted that I wouldn't take it seriously. That's for sure, but it is not something that I take lightly. It is a person's career. It is an opportunity to see high quality instruction, but also provide feedback when I see something that's not going well. So in the pre-observation conference, there's several pieces that are important to include. One is to talk about the planning process. That way I can see that domain, and I can see that that the instruction that I'm going to see, that the lesson I'm going to see is aligned to standards, and that was purposefully planned, and that the teacher has a breadth and knowledge of the standard and best practices and what she can do to ensure high quality instruction. I'm also looking for evidence that it's a nice continual, that the planning is a continual process, that she's well aware of how to construct unit planning, and then also that her instruction is comparable to other teachers in the building, which is also something as an appraiser that I think is important to do, is to align yourself and calibrate your ratings of teachers with other appraisers. So we all need to be in line with one another. Another important part is to really just sit down and have a nice conversation with the teacher about what I'm going to see in the observation. What is the lesson going to be about? Things that she wants me to see, things that she's been working on. Perhaps she's working on the first 5 minutes of class, or she's working on transitions, or she's working on her principles of powerful communication, or she's working on the closures, lots of different things. I'm not quite sure what Melissa wants me to look at. We're going to talk about it in the real video, and we're going to choose what I'm going to videotape. So I'm not going to videotape the entire lesson. I will just pick and choose the different sections of what she wants me to work on for this particular video. If it was a real appraisal process, of course, it would be the whole 45 minutes, but I'm not going to post the whole 45 minutes of her teaching the lesson in that observation. So it's going to be definitely modified. In the pre-observation conference, she can also give me some insight as to what the classroom's like, the nature of the classroom, the culture of the classroom, what procedures and systems that she's been working on, so I can see evidence of that. It really is just a way that she can show me her knowledge and skill level in what she does for her best practices in the classroom. So it gives you just some quality time to sit with the teacher and have those nice conversations about, how's it going in the classroom and what am I going to be looking for, and her excitement in the lesson. So, it is nice because we used to not have these. And so it does give me some insight as to, how's it going in team planning, and especially if I have not been able to attend planning, it gives me that domain, because that might be hard for me to prove evidence of seeing that. So, that's also another thing is, it's fact-based, and knowing what I'm going to see ahead of time is going to allow me just to like be looking for specific things that are happening in the classroom. And so it is less opinionated. It's more like, this is what I was looking for. This is the evidence that I saw it occurring, and like Ms. Bustro said it was going to occur. So, it really is nice. So, also, looking at the needs of her students, what are her students' needs? What kind of class am I going into? Am I going into a K-level class, a GT class? Am I going into a class that is in-class support? Are there high levels of EL students in the class? Those are things that I can really gain insight as to the nature of the classroom. Then we will confirm the date, and she can ask me any further questions. I think we need to be flexible in the day that I come in. She might be out or I might be out, so we want to make sure that we're flexible. And also, I think, it's important just to not make it that it's a particular lesson that she wants me to see. It should be every day in the classroom. So I could go in any day of the week and see high quality instruction. It's not just going to happen with this, she's a science teacher, so it's going to be this amazing lab that I can see. It's really just on the daily. Even if she was the first 10 minutes of class doing something like notes or reviewing or recapping, something that might not be as exciting as, the kids walking around doing a lab, but her ability to make something that might be mundane look really exciting and be engaging, that's something that I think is way more important than her getting up there and, doing something like elaborate. So the pre-observation conference is going to allow me to see those domains 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm going to videotape her 10 minutes of actual teaching, and again, focusing on something that she wants to work on. And then we'll come back and we'll do the post-observation conference, where I'm looking for evidence. I can provide her feedback, and she can do some self-reflecting. What did she like about the lesson? What did she not like about the lesson? And what's really cool about my role as an instructional specialist is this is something that I do nearly every day. So I really work hard to go into different classrooms at least 10 minutes every single day, going to the 8th grade classes, 7th grade classes, 6th grade classes, and providing that feedback, so that when their formal observation rolls around, they're prepared and ready. And so I'm providing that insight for them, and also streamlining and ensuring quality instruction, like I said, on the daily. And I can also practice finding areas of reinforcement and finding areas of refinement. So, as a new appraiser, that's very challenging to have the courage to say, this is what was good, and this is, what needs to be worked on. So again, that's just something that I do on the daily basis, but it's always something that requires a sense of courage and a sense of, expertise in delivering that information in a meaningful way, one that will be taken to heart and be listened to. So that is something that always needs practice. But I'm really glad that I have this opportunity to create this video. I'm a firm believer in video. I think that video provides great insight into what you may or may not be seeing. Last year, I videotaped myself leading a PLC, and I was amazed that there was one member of our team in 6th grade that I never really addressed. And she didn't really mind that I didn't address it. So it's interesting. It's an interesting dynamic that one particular person was doing a lot of the talking, a lot of the planning. She was doing a lot of the writing, and she was fine with that. So it gave me insight to that part. So I'm a firm believer in videotape. So I'm excited to see how I am in a formal conference with another teacher. You know, I conference with teachers all the time, give them quick feedback, and I never videotape. So I'm interested to see that dynamic and how I sound. And again, I think micro teaching, the ability to practice your practice, like, you know, I'm trying to find the right words for this. You know, it's like football players, they videotape themselves practicing, and they videotape themselves in a game, and so do baseball players and track athletes and actors and people in all professions will videotape themselves and watch tape. And that's something that, and practice what they do, right? And teachers, we never really get an opportunity to practice. So I think it's really, really important that even outside of the classroom, that appraisers and administrators are still videotaping and practicing their practice, because that's really the only way that we're going to improve and get better. So the next segment will be the post-observation conference, the pre-observation conference with Melissa Bustos, 6th grade science. So see you then. Hello, I'm sitting here with Melissa Bustos, 6th grade science teacher at Lehigh Middle School. And she has graciously volunteered to help me with my practicum video, where I'll be modeling the T-test appraisal process. In Sci-Fair, we call it CF tests because, you know, in Sci-Fair we have to do things our way. But she has graciously volunteered to help me with my project. And Melissa, tell me, how long have you been teaching science?
Teaching science 5 years, in the district 11.
Wow, okay. So not only is Melissa a veteran teacher, but she's also an exceptional teacher, and she's a great model and example that I can use for my practicum. So I appreciate you helping me out.
No problem.
So tell me a little bit about the lesson that I'm going to be coming in and watching.
We are going to start our day. When you come in, we're going to start our day about recapping the day before of measuring irregular objects.
Okay.
Calculating the density of irregular objects.
So what is the learning goal for the lesson?
That there's some recall going on, that they can, it's so multi-stepped that hopefully through these hands-on experiments that we've been doing, labs, that they can now apply it. That if I give them a word problem or I ask them what are the steps, that they can actually plug and play the information.
Okay, and calculate the density.
Density using mass and volume.
And then there's different kinds of objects, right? What are the two different kinds of objects they have to measure?
Regular and irregular. So okay. Regular, they're going to use length, width, and height. Irregular is using a graduated cylinder and measuring the initial volume from the final volume.
Okay. So how do you sequence the instruction? Because it sounds to me that if they're calculating density, they've started somewhere. So tell me a little bit about that process.
We've started by just teaching the tools of measurement, and now we're ready. So the day before you come in, we're actually doing hands-on, like calculate the density. What is the mass of the irregular object? What is the volume of the irregular object?
Okay.
So that's what we're going to do.
Okay. What do the students need to know before they calculate density?
Some math. They need to have some schema of what does sink or float look like.
Okay.
That's about all I can think of right now.
Okay. How were they, when they came to you, what was their prior knowledge for doing the mathematical calculations?
None. So that has been a challenge. Yeah, they don't calculate density in elementary, so all they've been told is if something sinks or floats, and they can do that by looking at something.
Okay.
Or dropping it in a bucket of water. This is actually the true calculation, so they don't have any prior knowledge. So there is a lot of step-by-step instruction and memorization, and like putting a puzzle together.
Okay. So you and I had a conversation earlier today about this, how it's really a very conceptual thing, that it's not just calculating the number. Like you have a number that this is the mass, and you have a number that this is the volume, and you throw it in. They really then have to take that number and apply it and say, well, what does this number really mean?
Right. So for the irregular object, what is the density of eraser, of a pink eraser? Is it going to sink or float? So with your final calculation, that density number will tell you if it's going to sink or float.
Okay. So how do you ensure that the activities that you plan are engaging?
We've done some hands-on experience, predictions. So we're going to predict whether a bar of soap sinks or floats.
Okay.
A pencil, an eraser, they know that boats float. They know that balls float on water. Things like that they already know, but looking at everyday objects and trying them out.
Okay. Will they need this information moving forward?
Yes. So it'll apply to some of the other units that we're going to do throughout the year, such as the Earth's layers.
Okay. So this is foundational. So they got to get it.
Absolutely.
Okay. So while I'm in class and I'm watching you, what will I see for how you're collecting evidence of knowledge of the student's mastery?
I'm going to solicit some, questioning and answering, calling on students. They're going to be writing it down. I can walk by and see that they're writing it down. Some students don't want to talk out loud, but I can go by and see on their paper that they're actually plugging in the numbers and doing the calculations.
Okay. If you see a student struggling, what will you do?
We've been using a density flow chart.
Okay.
So when we start class, we're going to either pull that out or we're going to rewrite it quickly, and that they'll have that as a reference. So it's going back of what do you know, where does it go, how are you going to plug it in?
Okay. What do you already know about your students' skill levels?
Some of them are very good at math, and then some of them very much struggle, or they don't like math, and so
that's a perception, right?
That's a perception. So they love science, but now they don't like this math. So it's kind of 50-50,
That can be hard because like the first couple weeks of school, we're all excited and we're getting pumped about science and sixth grade science, and then now we're doing math and they might be questioning that.
Some of them are questioning it, but they're coming around and they're able to do it. And so when they see that they solve it, like yesterday, it's encouraging.
Okay. So when I walk in and I see, what's the clear beginning that you'll have with the students? How will you start the class?
What is our objective and what do we plan to be able to do by the end of the class?
Okay. Will you have a hook or anything like that?
It's going to be a recap from the day before.
Okay. And recapping is important. And then in the middle, what will they be doing? After the mini lesson, they'll be actually practicing?
Yes, they're going to practice. They're going to go to stations and do some calculations on their own.
Okay, and then at the end?
Probably an exit ticket or write a flow chart. It will, each class is different, so it depends on the students that I have and what time you come in. That some classes might be rewriting that flow chart again. Some classes might be able to draw it or write about it. It just will vary.
So, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, sorry.
I'll say, so what would be an exemplar of a student who can calculate density of an irregular object? What would their paper look like that would be an exemplar?
You would see density equals, so the first step is to write their formula.
Got it.
They plug in the number for mass. I can see the calculation that they did final minus initial volume and have a number that they plugged in for volume. See that they use their calculator to do mass divided by volume. See your final answer with the unit of measure.
Great. Okay. So that's what you'll be really checking for are all those steps, and that they're plugging all those steps in and filling those in, as well as having the flow chart out that they're applying. Okay. What is important for you to know before you start teaching this lesson?
I need to be mindful of anybody who has missed class to catch them up because they might likely be very confused. Also the different levels of kids you have in the classroom.
Right. Will I see evidence of students leading and managing their own responsibilities?
Yes, there'll be kids who can just, if I give them the calculation or give them some numbers, they can plug it in and do it. If I give them a word problem, they'll be able to do it just fine.
Okay.
You're going to have there are definitely students who are independent.
Okay. So what is the class makeup that I'll be coming into? Is it on level, K level?
K level.
Did we decide yet?
No.
What class?
But I'll tell you, first, third, or sixth.
First, third, sixth, okay.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be K level,
Yes.
which in Sci-Fair is your accelerated class?
Yes, with a few Horizon students.
Okay, all right. So I can expect to see more independent.
More independent, more mastery.
Okay. And really, I think a lot of them just want to be left alone. Like, let me tackle it. Let me
They definitely,
get in there and
Yeah.
let me. Okay. I just have like a couple more questions. How do you ensure meaningful learning is the norm in your classroom or any classroom, not just first, third, or sixth, like all day long? How do you ensure that?
well, having an objective and that we meet it and we go back to it and wrap around and say, okay, did we do the job that we said we were going to do?
Okay. And then what specifically do you want me to look for? Like, is it part of your learning goal? What you want me to look for?
In my classroom, it's about mindset
Okay.
and that turning our negatives into positives. It sounds really cliche, but like can't is not an option. So positive reinforcements go a long way and encourage them.
Okay. Well, I am excited to come in.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
So I'll come in on Friday, is that good?
Yes, Friday,
Friday, first, third, or
6th.
sixth. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning. Yes, you can do the extras. Oh, we're always extra, aren't we?
Wait, are we doing
We are doing a few things today. So we are first going to start with completing those questions from yesterday from our lab. And I believe the questions were on principles 1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
Okay? So principles 1, 2, and 3 is on page 26. So let's look at page 26. In your study guide, yes. We take attendance real quick. So you're getting out yesterday's lab, our weekly homework, our weekly warm-up. Those two things first, please. Thank you, Cortez. Cortez is on it. Valerie, I see you have your study guide open. Are you recording that information on your warm-up? Okay, we're going to do question number 7, 8, and 9 on the back of our lab from yesterday. That was the biggest response of what are our reminder of the 3 principles of density. Okay, let's get started. Check in with each other. So principles 1, 2, and 3. Principle 1, what does principle 1 say for question number 7? All you need to do is look at, are you on your study guide? What number in your study guide will help us answer the question about principle number 1? Question number 3, that's right. What does it state?
If you pack more mass into the same volume, density will increase.
That's right. As you pack more, and it's more tight, density is going to increase. If density increases, let's put our hands at 1.0. If density increases, show me how that works. At like 8.0, what is happening to our object? Sinking, very good. Okay, what does principle 2 state for us?
If you put the same mass into a smaller volume, density will increase. 7?
Yes, if you put the same mass into a smaller volume, density is also going to increase. That would be like a ball sitting out in the middle of our atmosphere. We stuff it into a tiny little container. All right? And principle 3.
Just because something has one mass does not mean it is more
Dense. What example did we use in class to prove that? What was my demo that day? The peanuts in the Ziploc baggie, which had more mass, compared to the paper clip. Okay? So, and our paper clip did what? Yes.
Because the particles
Are tightly packed, that's right. So it is visually deceiving, but the rule says, can I help you find something? You know what? Let's just grab one from over here and move on so you're not getting behind, okay? Here we go. Have a seat, Mason. I've got another one for you. Maybe. There it is. Here we go. Have a seat. We're going to move on to our weekly warm-ups. That's excellent. Pack that away in your science folder. Yes. Absolutely. It did say you could draw it. Absolutely. That's always a good way. Our weekly warm-up, Monday through Friday. It has a few little extras on the back. You know what? We are going to skip that for just a minute, and we're going to recap what we did yesterday in our coin lab. What was the purpose of our coin lab yesterday? What did we measure? Yes. Mass and volume of what kind of objects? Are those regular or irregular? Irregular. Why are they irregular? What can I not use on them? You cannot use a ruler. Excellent. So that's where we were at yesterday. Our pennies cannot be used. You cannot measure its volume by using a ruler. But what is the, if it was using a ruler on your desks, what would I use to figure out the volume? Not the mass, the volume.
Graduated cylinder.
You're gonna put that desk in a graduated cylinder? What 3 things? Something by something by something. All right, say that again. Let's figure that out. So you told me that an irregular object, a funky shaped object like a paperclip goes in a what? In a graduated cylinder. If I need to know the volume of this desk, I am going to use a ruler. A what? Ruler. And measure length times width times height. Okay, very good. Question? Technically, yes, if you could. But the easiest way would be, because it has straight edges, is to use our ruler. Okay? But you did see in the video yesterday, you could sit in a pool of water and measure it. Absolutely. Okay. What we're going to do now is do a quick little recap. Are there any note cards at your table? Okay, I'm gonna give you a little note card, and you're gonna draw out or write out how to measure the volume of an irregular object and the formula for density. What is the formula for density? Number one, write it down. And then what is the process to figure out the volume of an irregular object? It's exactly what we did yesterday. So it's just recall. Write it down on a note card. So first thing is, what is the formula for density of all objects that we write down every single time?
Density equals mass.
It's a secret right now, then you can share it. Then, what are we going to put down? Recall that penny lab or that coin lab yesterday. What did you do first? What did you do second? What did you do third? And then fourth. What is the process that you would tell a brand new student that starts today how to measure volume of an irregular object? Jot a 4-step process down. If your step process in your brain is 6 steps, that's fine.
Can we do an example?
Absolutely, that would be great.
Can we just draw it out?
Can you just draw it out? Absolutely. Y'all have been working so hard this week. Yes, you have the first part done. We have a new student today, and you gotta teach them how to do that lab yesterday, to find the volume of a stack of pennies. Ooh.
All right.
We got this.
I'm sitting here with Melissa Busto, 6th grade science teacher at Libi Middle School, and we are here to simulate and model the post-observation conference for the T-test appraisal system, but in Sci-Fair we call it the CF-test appraisal system because, you know, we have to have our own thing.
Yes.
We got to Sci-Fair it up. But we're here to talk about the lesson that I came in to watch on Thursday? Friday, okay. So tell me how you think it went.
I think it went really well. My kids did demonstrate that they knew about measuring irregular objects. The recap was good and we moved on.
Okay. What I noticed was the kids walked in, they knew what to do, they knew what papers to grab, they had a routine.
Oh, yes.
They walk in, and then right as the bell rang, you got started right away. And I love the smiles and the humor that you instill with your classes and the rapport that you have with your students. And I think it's really important to use humor and to smile, and it puts kids at ease.
Yes.
One thing that I noticed was you were really super purposeful in what you wanted them to say, and if you had a callback, you wanted them to say it, and they didn't say it, you repeated, hey, say that again,
Yes.
and you went over that again, and you're saying, this is, you use a what, and they say a ruler, a what, and you know, just to get them there. And then you did some recall and recap. You asked for clarification. I wrote on here humor and joy.
Yes.
So I know that your personal motto this year is about joy. What is?
Choose joy, but it's also just about mindfulness. Just, you can do it.
Okay. And then you said we've been calculating the density of solid objects. We're going to take it up a notch. So tell me what that's about.
Well, that's one way to calculate volume, but now we're going to calculate volume of liquids.
Is that more challenging for students?
Oh, definitely, because it's not a hands-on object anymore. It's measuring with one beaker and another beaker, subtracting the numbers, and then looking at the volume that was in the beaker. So it's very multi-stepped.
Especially like, how do you get the mass of a liquid? You know, like you can't pour it on the scale.
No.
Like it's got to be in a container, but you can't include the mass of the container.
Exactly.
So that is another step.
Definitely. It's a lot to go on for these kids. So we're going to be working on that for a few days because they need to master it. It's one of their teaks.
Do you feel it puts the students at a disadvantage that it is only October 7th and you guys are doing something so heavy?
Absolutely. But it's such a step-by-step process. I think that they're capable. I think that they're capable. Some of the students who do struggle from the beginning, they just need a little more work.
Okay.
They just need a little more work. I think the pictures are difficult when you're showing a graduated cylinder and they're on the scales and you've got to do all of that. It does concern me, but I do believe that they're capable. I do.
It's almost like you can see both sides of it. Yes, it's quite challenging, but it sets the tone for the rest of the school year. Like when we face tasks that are challenging, we're going to chunk it. We're going to go step by step, and I'm going to be there to support you, and you're going to get it. That's amazing. So after you did your recap, we stopped the video, but you went on and they had an assessment, which took about 20 minutes.
20 minutes, yes.
And then you played a game. Tell me about your game that you played.
We did some heads up, working on vocabulary.
Okay. All right. And then you closed the lesson with a...
Exit ticket, we just did a note card and they just recapped what we did today. Like what was the formula or the strategy that we're going to use.
Okay. So, looking at my time, moving on to areas of refinement. If this was a real appraisal, we would talk about your ratings and we would talk about your area of refinement. So my area of refinement that I identified for you was Domain 2, Instruction, Dimension 2.2. Lots and lots of things to check off for you. Anticipating misunderstandings, that was quite evident that you are well aware of their misconceptions and where they're going to need more support, and you're there in the power zone helping them out. Adapting the lesson in the moment as they need to, not only in the lesson that I observed on Friday, but also just anytime I'm in your classroom. And anytime after first period, I know you have second period off, you're reflecting, and that's another thing, is how reflective you are. You're thinking, okay, this didn't work, I need to go back, or they got it, now I'm gonna move on. How am I gonna do extension activities? And I know you and I talked about having a file for extension activities for those go-to activities that they need. So you are a master at anticipating, and really I think that's, I talked about it before, how reflective you are on your teaching practice and what the students need and what their needs are. For area of reinforcement, Domain 2, Instruction 2.3, questioning strategies. I do find that you round up, which is Teach Like a Champion. Doug Lemove calls it rounding up, is when you pose a question and then the students start talking and then you finish. And it comes from a place of love because you're so excited because they're on the right track.
Right.
And they're talking and then you're like, yeah, you want to get in the conversation.
Right.
So I get it. I understand it. I finish your sentences too. So.
Yes.
It comes from love. So how do you think you could work on that? What's a strategy you think you could?
I think once I pose a question, just kind of like, and think in my head, count down. Maybe 5 seconds, maybe 3 seconds is good enough to let them finish. So I think it's just being mindful. Just being mindful.
Yeah.
And when somebody brings it to your attention, then you're more mindful.
Exactly.
Of it. So.
Right. So you're just unaware. I didn't even realize I was doing
I didn't.
that,
I didn't.
And I think I'm a great talker, and then I hear myself talking. I'm like, you said 25 times in 5 minutes.
Right. That happens. So yes, it's something I definitely appreciate the feedback on.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for helping me. And, Melissa and I work together all the time, so it's not like it's the end.
No, it's not the end.
It's just the beginning.
Hey, rounding up.
Thank you so much,
You're welcome.
Melissa. Good evening. I am finishing up the last couple of minutes of my video requirement for my practicum, and I just wanted to just wrap up the video segment and my reflections on the experience. It has been a crazy day today. Go, 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 go. I started a project at my school where I'm meeting with a group of other educators, the teachers, and we're meditating for 5, 6, 7 minutes, hopefully gaining time as we get better at it. And I've been working on that and preparing for that, and today was our first day to meet, and so I got to school really super early, so it's been quite a long day, and all the way through to science professional development after school. So, but as grad school has it, you're always working on something. So tomorrow I'm shadowing a assistant principal and getting experience in that field and that realm to see if that's something that I perhaps would want to pursue. My goal right now is to focus on curriculum, but I want to see what the school safety and that side of school is like, so I can have a balanced opinion on where I want to move forward in my career. But this particular opportunity, the opportunity to model and simulate the T-test or CF test appraisal system, was really eye-opening. I was took the CF test training over the summer, and we got to watch video of different teachers, and we talked about the pre-observation conference, talked about the post-observation conference, and the ratings and the dimensions and domains. And it really isn't until you get into doing it yourself that you have an idea of what it's really like. And I appreciate my colleague Melissa Bustos for being being a friend and helping me out with that, and being such a great collaborator. And that's what she is. Her and I have worked together for 4 years, and I am her instructional coach, but we've gotten to be close friends, and really what I love about her is how reflective she is, and she knows how important reflection is, and she is always bouncing ideas off of me. Hey, I thought about this, I thought about that, fine-tuning what we do for students. And what usually happens is she can come up with a need, and I will finish up. And like we said, we finish each other's sentences, so I can come in and finish up with her idea, and really, she's a really good idea person, and I'm really good at the details, and so we make a good team. There's 2 other members of on that team, a very first year right at a college teacher and a second year teacher. So we really rely on Melissa's expertise when it comes to instruction for 6th grade. Even though she's not officially a team leader, we don't have official team leaders at my campus. She really goes in and is really a master at instruction and what it should look like and how to meet the needs of her kids. And she has great classroom management and great rapport with her students. And she also works on meditation with her students and getting her students into the alpha state. So a really, really great opportunity to talk with her and reflect with her about what this whole process was going to look like, and having opportunities to talk about the lesson that she was going to teach, and then the pre-observation conference and what that was going to look like, and the things that were required and things we wanted to talk about, what I wanted to look for in the video. One thing we learned is do we have to have permission slips from students to videotape them? So that was a process. That was a great learning process for me to get that done. My district requires it. And then going in and watching and videotaping, and then looking at the videotape and reflecting on the different dimensions and domains and her refinement and reinforcement part, and that's really all about my reflection too. So she was able to watch the video clip of herself, and then I came in and we talked about it together in that post-observation conference. So this was really a great experience for me, and it is something that I, moving forward, gained a lot of experience and knowledge from. So I appreciate you watching my video and giving me this opportunity with experience. Thank you.